The movie opens in a hospital room, where an old man named Leo is lying in his bed. He appears to be in the last stages of his life. Just then, an unknown woman approaches him and takes off his oxygen mask. Leo claims that he is going to die anyways, as his body has been riddled with an incurable tumor. However, the woman has other plans. She pushes a food trolley against his neck, and the screen fades to black. We are then introduced to our protagonist, Donal, a middle-aged man who lives on a farm in Belfast. Despite having gray hair all over his face, he is still unmarried, and lives with his mom. He spends most of his time reading newspapers, working in the field, and hunting animals. Donal also has a passion for vehicles. He earns extra income by selling old refurbished cars, and has set up a garage to carry out the repair works himself. Apart from all this, Donal has a very close bond with his mother, Florence. The two make sure to have dinner together every single night, and Florence appears to be an extremely kind woman, who is always ready to help others. One day, as she is reading a newspaper, she suddenly becomes upset, and Donal believes she's sad because their neighbor recently passed away. However, the truth is that she has learned about Leo's death. It is evident that the two have a history.
I failed. How's your mother?
Best.
That evening, Donal goes to a pub to unwind. As he waits for his pint, a drunk guy starts acting rude to the bartender. He then makes fun of the fact that an old guy like Donal is still living with his mother, and even calls him a silverback gorilla. When Donal asks him to calm down, the guy tries to get into a fight, but before he can do so, the bartender kicks him out.
1, 2, out to fuck you.
In the next scene, Donal goes straight to his garage, and starts working on an old caravan. He fixes its damaged engine, paints it red, and gives it a brand new look. The next morning, he brings his mom to the garage to showcase his new vehicle. He offers to take her to Montague, a beautiful beach where Florence and her late husband spent a lot of their early days. But for some reason, she gets agitated. She mentions that she is old and cannot travel anymore. She also asks her son to stop spending so much time on these machines, and poor Donal is devastated by her outbursts, as he only wanted to make her happy.
You shouldn't be spending so much time in these machines.
I'd have work to be done round here.
Later that evening, Florence returns to the caravan with some beers, and says that she loves the music which he's playing. Donal then turns up the song's volume, so that she can hear it from her room.
Take a spin away down the country by yourself, I won't mind.
He downs the beers one by one, and falls asleep in the caravan. He later experiences a weird dream, where he finds himself wandering through the dark forest, right when he comes across his mother, who is eerily vacuum cleaning the ground. She looks at him and says, "Help, Donal," causing him to jolt awake from his sleep. He then rushes to check on her, and spots two unknown people quickly leaving the house in a car. Following this, he rushes inside the house, only to find his mother's bloody body on the ground.
Ma!
Donal quickly grabs his phone and calls emergency services. In the next scene, we see the cops interrogating a distraught Donal about the incident. They inquire if he saw anything suspicious, and Donal replies that he saw two people leaving in a car. One of them appeared to be a fancy-looking man. However, he doesn't have any more details as it was very dark.
Sir, we're not finished here yet.
After completing his mother's final rites, Donal slowly moves on with his life. He tries to keep himself distracted by spending most of his time in the field and with his cattle. However, he struggles to prepare dinner as he was heavily reliant on Florence. One night, as Donald is cleaning her bedroom, he finds a load of cash under her mattress. He also comes across an old picture, where he and his mom are together with a man and his daughter, and it says me, Joe and the kids. But then all of a sudden, he hears some noise coming from the garage. Donald grabs his shotgun and slowly heads there, and spots a masked guy in the darkness.
That shotgun thing.
From behind, he is held at gunpoint by the second intruder, who asks him to drop his weapon. Donald is ordered to stand up on a tool where he will be hanged. The intruders then tie a noose around him, and drop the tool, but to his good luck, the rope appears to have slagged.
I step forward and fuck up. Holy f***.
The armed intruder orders him to wait in the corner, and without wasting any time, Donald grabs a hammer and fights back.
What did you do?
He eventually kills the guy by bashing his head repeatedly. Donald turns his attention to the second guy, who clearly appears to be a rookie, and takes off his mask. Donald then threatens him for information, and the guy reveals that they were sent by some people to kill him, but he doesn't know much about them. Enraged, Donald ties him up in the garage, and calls the emergency services to tell them about the situation, but he changes his mind at the last second and hangs up. Donald now wants to take matters into his own hands, so that he can find out who is responsible for all this. He orders the other guy to answer the dead intruder's phone, and the latter is visibly scared to do it, lying that they have got the job done.
He had all the information. They don't tell me anything.
Tell him everything went wrong.
Came in?
No. It's Bartosz here.
Just get the phone.
Yes. Yes.
Here we get to know that the scared thug's name is Bartosz, and the one who died is Damien. Bartosz worriedly asks if he can see his sister now, and the guy on the other end provides him with an address and time. Hearing this, Donald, who wants to get to the bottom of the truth, decides to go there. But first, he buries the corpse in his farm with tractor, and heads to the said location with a tied-up Bartosz. On the way, he tries to find out more information, and stops the vehicle on the side of the road. Bartosz, who is shaking with fear, reveals that he is actually from Poland. He and Damien were sent to kill Donald by a guy named Gavigan, but he doesn't know the reason why. Gavigan is the same guy he talked with in the garage last night. Bartosz then discloses a shocking truth: his sister, along with several other girls, have been held captive by the bad guys, so he has to follow their orders. They are actually pimping the girls for money. Hearing all this, Donald feels bad for the boy, and says that they should help each other out. He mentions that if Bartosz is actually speaking the truth, his sister will be in danger, as he has just failed his mission.
Help me.
Following this, the two resume their journey, and eventually arrive outside the mentioned address. As they discuss their next move, Bartosz reveals that his sister's real name is Kaya, but they have given her a new alias now. Just then, a vehicle arrives outside the location, and a man escorts a woman inside. Bartosz believes that it is his sister, so he decides to go inside first, and Donald warns the boy not to try anything stupid. He then grabs his classic shotgun, and follows him from behind. As soon as Bartosz enters the compound, he finally comes face to face with Gavigan. He claims that Damien was set to meet him here, and that they have completed the mission, but Gavigan doesn't want to believe him without any proof. Here Bartosz gets to know that the girl from earlier is not his sister. She has actually been brought here for execution. Gavigan cruelly remarks that she tried to run away, so her punishment is death. He then begins choking her, while Bartosz is restrained by another thug named Jerome.
This is Sophia. She tried to run. Okay. Damien is dead.
Did you kill him?
No, the farmer did. Then I killed.
On the other hand, Donald has also sneaked inside the premises. As he scans through the place, he finds a bunch of Polish passports, which he keeps with himself. Meanwhile, when Bartosz cannot take it any longer, he admits that Damien was killed by the farmer, but he managed to take him down. Gavigan appreciates him for his honesty, but he still proceeds to brutally finish the girl off with a hammer.
Don't feel too bad this was going to happen.
After this, Jerome picks up her corpse and heads to stash her in the storeroom. But as soon as he enters, Donald comes from behind and locks the door from outside. He then heads to the main hall and confronts Gavigan at gunpoint. Donald forces the man to the caravan and knocks him unconscious when he talks too much, after which they drive off from there.
Shut your teeth, Mike.
Jesus, Donald.
Soon, they arrive in the middle of the woods, and Donald begins his interrogation while having lunch. At first, Gavigan acts all tough and refuses to speak. But when his head is burnt by a boiling pot, he begins crying and divulges all that he knows. He claims that a man named Trevor hired him to kill Donald, but he doesn't know the motive behind it. When Donald inquires if Trevor is a fancy-looking guy, Gavigan confirms it. This means that Trevor and the second person inside the car killed his mother. Donald then asks who that second person is, to which Gavigan replies that is the boss. Following this, we are finally introduced to this boss. She is revealed to be a wealthy woman, and her name is Frankie. Trevor apparently works under her command. Back at the woods, Donald pauses the interrogation and heads outside to take a leak. Taking advantage of this opportunity, a tied-up Gavigan tricks Bartosz and makes a run for it.
What in the name of Jesus?
Donald spots him fleeing, so he quickly grabs his gun and chases after him. Moments later, Gavigan stops at some spot and manages to untie himself, and the first thing he does is call Trevor to update him on the situation.
Care of it.
No, I haven't fucking taken care of it. He's chasing me right now.
Who's chasing you?
The farmer.
Frankie, who also overhears the conversation, is furious that they couldn't kill the farmer. Later on, when Gavigan sees Bartosz, he jumps the rookie from behind and almost beats him to death. But then,
Hey, boy.
Donald arrives in the nick of time, and Bartosz exacts his revenge by stabbing the guy twice in the abdomen. This causes a lot of bleeding, and Gavigan pleads with them to save him. But when he realizes that he won't make it, he decides to go out on a good note. He reveals that Kaya's work name is Alicia.
Here.
After he passes away, he is buried in the woods secretly. Later, Donald goes to his uncle, Eamon's house to find out more about his mother, because he believes that she knew something he didn't. Donald brings out the picture from earlier and asks about it. At first, Eamon tries to avoid the topic, but when Donald insists, he starts revealing that the man in the picture is Joe Pierce, a good friend of Florence. The little girl is his daughter, Frankie.
Well, they were just good friends. He had his own family and all. That's the daughter there, Frances. He called her Frankie.
Eamon discloses that Joe died decades ago when he was gunned down by some gangsters led by Leo. Florence tried to save him by hiding him near a beach, but he was eventually caught and killed. Taken aback, Donald asks why he wasn't aware of all this, and Eamon responds that his mother wanted to keep him safe. That's why she left the city and relocated to the countryside. When Donald returns to his caravan, Bartosz, who now knows his sister's alias name, requests that Donald book an appointment with her and rescue her. He claims that she can help them go to Frankie and Trevor. Donald is a bit hesitant about this, as it seems to be a risky plan, but he eventually agrees. He then pretends to be a customer, and books a room with Kaya.
You need some company. Come on.
Paper lantern, Chinese, how can I help?
Hello. Is Alicia about? Gavin gave me this number and told me to ask for Alicia.
Continental Apartments. 6 o'clock.
Meanwhile, Frankie is at her home, right when she gets a call from Trevor, who mentions that they have identified Bartosz's sister, and Jerome is on his way to get her. After she hangs up the call, we see that she was reading the news about Leo's death, the same old man from the start of the movie. On the other hand, Donald gets dressed up and heads to the said location, which turns out to be a large but empty hotel. When he reaches the room, he finds a guard at the entrance. Donald then ventures into the master bedroom, until he finally comes across Kaya.
Would you like a drink?
How you doing, Kaya? Your brother tracked you down.
I've told you. I'll be good now. I'll behave. Just please don't hurt him.
She appears to be scared, but he eventually convinces her that he's a friend, and allows her to finally talk with her brother. The two then team up and incapacitate the guard. Donald then asks Kaya about Frankie's location, but she appears to be unaware about it. Here Donald realizes that Bartosz tricked him so that his sister would be saved. As he still lacks any solid leads, he starts torturing the guard for information. As a result, the man gives an address where they can find Trevor. Donald and Kaya then prepare to leave, but at the same time, Jerome arrives there. This ensues a deadly battle between the two men, with Jerome coming out on top. But before he can finish off our hero, Kaya grabs a gun and shoots him dead. When Bartosz finally sees his sister, he is overwhelmed with happiness, and the two hug each other affectionately, before speeding away in the caravan. Shortly after, Frankie and Trevor arrive at the same hotel room, only to find Jerome's lifeless body. They also discover the guard, who is gravely injured, so Frankie inquires if he divulged any information, to which the guard says that he didn't talk about her. Nevertheless, she is so upset at their repeated failures that she grabs an iron and beats him to death. Elsewhere, Donald now wants to go to the address where he can find Trevor and finish him off, and, after all she has been through, Kaya is willing to accompany him too. Bartosz tries to persuade her to return home with him, but she remains resolute in her decision. Perhaps she wants to take revenge on all the bad guys that harmed and tortured her. They then track Trevor and tail him to an upscale neighborhood. Eventually, they find Frankie, and Donald prepares to kill her right now, but when he notices that she has a daughter, he decides to wait until the night. He later tells the siblings to go home, and even hands them their passports and some money. Meanwhile, at Frankie's place, she has grown tired of Trevor's incompetence, as he has still not been able to catch the farmer. So, she fires him and decides to take matters into her own hands. At night, Donald suspects that his uncle is not safe, so he goes to check on him. Unfortunately, it is already too late, as Uncle Eamon has been brutally attacked and left to die. In his final moments, he reveals a shocking truth. Turns out Frankie's father, Joe Pierce, was a gangster, and was in relationship with Donald's mother. The two had their own separate families, so they kept their affair hidden. They loved each other a lot, but Florence betrayed Joe, and handed him over to Leo, his rival, which resulted in his demise. Uncle Eamon claims that she did so to protect her son, as the gangsters had threatened to kill young Donald if she didn't comply. After revealing all this, he passes away, leaving Donald more confused than ever. A few moments later, Frankie arrives at Eamon's house with one of her henchmen, hoping to end the saga once and for all. However, Donald easily outsmarts them. He knocks out the man, before taking Frankie hostage.
Give me that pistol. We're going out to the van. Slowly. And if you try anything, you'll get the barrel. You'll drive.
Following this, we are taken to the Polish siblings, who are seen sleeping at a hotel. They are ready to take off for their hometown the next day, but Bartosz is feeling guilty for not being able to help Donald, so he grabs his gun and ventures out. A while later, he arrives at Uncle Eamon's house to check if Donald is there. Unfortunately, he is captured by Trevor, and the same henchman from earlier, who had also come looking for our hero. In the meantime, we learn that Donald has taken Frankie to the same beach where her father was killed.
We are.
He digs up a grave and plans to bury her there. Here Frankie begins revealing the actual truth. She says she visited Leo in the hospital a few days ago, and wanted to kill him, as she believed he was responsible for her father Joe's death. However, Leo disclosed that when he had arrived at the beach, Joe Pierce was already dead. Leo says that he was called to the scene by none other than Florence. Soon after, the cops arrived, and Leo was framed for the murder. Donald refuses to believe, until Frankie reveals that she spoke to Florence before she died. The movie then goes into a flashback, to that fateful night where the old woman died. Florence admitted that she was madly in love with Joe, so much that she actually put him over her own family. However, when Joe refused to leave his family for her and tried to end things, Florence tried to stop him from leaving by pointing his own gun at him, but accidentally ended up shooting him dead. She is still sorry to this day for what she did. Unfortunately, Frankie is enraged that her innocent father was killed for no reason, so she bashes the old woman's head, and finishes her off as well. In the present, Frankie pleads with Donald to let her go. She mentions that if he kills her, her daughter will become an orphan, just as she herself had been orphaned when her father died. This eventually changes Donald's mind, so he decides to leave her. But as he is walking away, the cunning woman attacks him from behind with a shovel.
I was 5 years old when she killed him.
She then rushes to the caravan, unties her ropes, and grabs her gun to kill Donald. But then, he arrives there and kills her first. In the final scene, Donald gets a call from Bartosz. But Trevor speaks on the other end, and asks about Frankie's whereabouts. When Donald reveals that he killed her, Trevor decides to do the same with Bartosz. Donald pleads with him to not do so, and even offers to give himself up. However, a gunshot is heard on the phone, indicating that the poor boy has been killed.
Donald,
I'm sorry, Cub.
You were right. I should have listened. Look, I'm coming up there right now. They can take me in.
The movie ends as Donald calls emergency services, but once again hangs up without speaking, probably deciding to take matters into his own hands again.